In this video, I'm going to talk about mind maps at work. I'm first going to start with the background of mind maps and mind mapping. Then I'm going to talk a bit about the progression through the ages until from where it started to where we are now, where we're using it at work. Then I'm going to talk a bit about the problem that this has created, a solution for this problem, and then the next steps for you to take so that you can actually use mind maps effectively at work. Okay, so let's get started. Now this is a bit of my background. My name is Faisal. If you don't know me, I'm the owner of Using Mind Maps Academy. It's an online training, consulting and coaching business which helps people use mind maps to be more effective at work and in business. And I've been working in the corporate world for more than 30 years. In the information systems world, I first started as a software developer, database administrator. Then over the years I moved into project management and people management, and the last 20 plus years I've been an information systems manager where I manage people, projects, systems and among other things. So most of my life has been in the corporate world, working for big multi-billion-dollar corporates. But throughout this time, or a large portion of this time, I actually have used mind maps. I discovered mind maps in 1995 for the first time. It was a book by Tony Buzan called Use Your Head. For those of you who don't know, Tony Buzan is the inventor of mind maps. People often dispute this or debate this, but he was the first person to use mind maps in this context. So I credited the using of mind maps to Tony Buzan, and this book, Use Your Head, changed the way I thought about things, changed the way I thought about life. So that's a bit of my work history, and I've been using that in the workplace since 1995. Now, what I want to do is I actually help people use mind maps to be more effective by combining mind maps, systems, and processes to be more effective. Being a systems person, coming from the systems world, I like to think in terms of systems and processes. So I've put a number of systems and processes to help people to use mind maps to be more effective at work, in their business, and even in their personal lives. Okay, that's enough about me. Let's go into what we want to talk about today. We're talking about mind maps. Now you may be thinking, what is a mind map? If you don't know what a mind map is, I'm going to give you a bit of an idea. If you do know, maybe you can actually post some comments in the comments below and tell me what a mind map is in your mind. In my mind, a mind map is a visual tool that is radiant and not linear. It's radiant in the sense that it has a certain structure where it has a central topic, and the central topic is normally focused on one thing. In this mind map, I'm talking about mind maps at work. The topic is very, very clear. So that's one of the bases of a mind map. It has a central topic, and then it has branches, and the branches radiate out from the center of the mind map. Tony Buzan often used to record this as radiant thinking versus linear thinking. And there's actually almost like a battle in the world going on between like left brain and right brain, and the scientists which are saying it doesn't really exist. Some people say the brain does have a certain preference, certain hemispheres of the brain has preference for certain things and the other hemisphere not. And so this debate is going on. Putting that aside, the mind map is basically a visual tool which has a strong central image with branches radiating outwards, and it's organic and it's colorful and in many cases beautiful. And this is what we're going to talk about today, of how to use this tool at work. Now there are a lot of other tutorials on mind mapping which I didn't really create. If you Google it, you'll find a lot of actual other people talking about mind maps and the principles and the details. I'm speaking more about the application of mind mapping, and there are a lot of people teaching the basics. I'm more I really focus on the application of mind maps. So today we're going to look at the application of mind maps at work. Okay, so that's basically an idea of what a mind map is. Mind maps all started in education. When Tony Buzan started mind maps, and in the 1970s he actually had a television series on BBC where it was around how the brain worked and memory and the neurons and the infinite capacity of the brain. And a lot of his research was based on that. And its initial use of mind maps was in the education field, where people use it for note-taking. Mind maps could reduce your note-taking by up to 90%, especially if you use keywords like I'm doing over here now. You'll notice that I don't use a lot of sentences on my mind map. I'm talking from keynotes. It's a prompt, and if you know your subject well, you can actually talk quite easily about it. Or if you're studying for an exam, by reducing your notes by up to 90%, it saves time, it saves space, and allows you to imprint these mind maps in your brain. So it was great for memory. People often say it's the ultimate mnemonic, because a mind map has got color, it's got position, it's positioned in space, it's almost like multi-dimensional, and there's lots of things on a mind map that can help you remember it better. And the more unique you make your mind map, the more easy it is to remember. So that's where mind map really started, around memory. And then Tony Buzan also differentiated between note-taking and note-making. He said note-taking is when you're taking down other people's ideas, and note-making is when you're creating your own ideas. If you want to write an essay or write a book or write an article, you can use mind maps to actually sketch out your framework. So you can use it for writing as well. But that's largely where mind maps started. It was in the education field. Now, I was introduced to mind maps when I was already in the workplace. So my first encounter was in the workplace, really. And then I realized that, that mind maps could actually do well at work. And what changed it though was software. And I've got it lost over here, but software enabled me to use mind maps at work because it was fast, it was flexible, and it could be rearranged at any time. I could capture ideas almost at the speed of thought without having to worry about structure, because I could rearrange it afterwards and then put it into a decent structure. Okay, before I go further, I just want to say something important. I think is important. It's about the mind mapping laws. A lot of people, especially Tony Buzan, when he introduced mind maps to the world and he used it for education and memory largely, he put a number of mind mapping laws which are very difficult for me to use, and I try to adhere to them as much as possible. But when I found it in the workplace and with software, I didn't need to really know the laws that well. So you can also, as I say, search for the laws and go and study the laws and try to apply that if you want to, or just do it. Just do it. Just get out there, get some mind mapping software, take a free trial, one of the free versions, and just start mind mapping and get your thoughts out using a mind map. You can always rearrange it afterwards and put it in the right order, and then put the laws and then actually apply the laws. And that with me helping people to mind map and helping people in the workplace, I found that was very, very effective, because I could then introduce mind maps to people without knowing any laws, by just getting them to capture the ideas quickly, and then I could help them rearrange it and format it in a way that's more in agreement with the laws. Okay, so that's what a software did. And software was a game changer in the workplace, because now it enabled people to take mind mapping seriously. When we were using colored pens and, and organic branches and pictures, people thought it was like a child's toy, almost a child's way of taking notes. But mind mapping software enabled us to take this seriously and actually use mind maps in the workplace very, very effectively. So mind maps then naturally progressed from the education world to the work world. Now, it started, as I said, with education, and even in the workplace, if you want to actually work out in this modern world with the fast changes happening over there, we have to stay up to date all the time. I've been in the software development world for many, many years, and nearly every week nearly every day something new is coming out. So a mind map was a great way to actually to help me with my lifelong learning journey, enable me to take in new information, assimilate that information, and see the connections and the dots. So you can even use it to grow yourself at work. And learning, Ari de Geus, he was a strategist and thinker. He said something to the effect, your only sustainable competitive advantage may be your ability to learn faster than your competitor. And that was an interesting thing that he said. I think he wrote the book, The Living Organization. So using mind maps for lifelong learning is definitely a plus, because that's where it started. So you can use it in your own education. I've used it for projects, for planning projects, and and designing the steps and the workflows, etc. So for project management, it's very good. Designing systems. I've used it in many cases to design many systems over the 20 plus years that I was as a mind mapper. I've used it for presentations, not only to design the presentation and the outline of the presentation, but in the actual presentation itself, like I'm doing right now. I've used to run meetings, manage meetings, for brainstorming, to getting ideas out of people. The great thing for a mind map is when you start with a brainstorming mind map, you just capture ideas very quickly, and then you group the related things together, and then you can sort it and then put it into the right order. So it's great for brainstorming. I use it for managing teams, people, projects, budgets, to get clarity where there's chaos, and obviously for self-development. So you can see mind maps in the workplace is very powerful if you want to use mind maps in the workplace, and there are many applications for mind maps that can really give you a competitive edge, give you an advantage, maybe allow you to do things faster with less time, allow you to be more effective. So that's mind maps at work. Recently, a lot of people are actually beginning to use it in business. As a worker, using a mind map I've showed you now can make you more effective. But in business, if you're starting a new business, it could help you with business management, with a new business plan, developing a business model, because you can see your whole business in a visual map on one page. So you can model how your business is going to work, and you could take some of the business model tools like the business model canvas and the lean canvas. There are models like that which you could use and mind map that. And I have actually done a few of that, and I'll probably record a video in the future where I'll actually show you how I did that. You can use it to do your marketing plans and to map out processes and figure out processes so they can document for other people to do. So see, mind maps have a lot of advantages in business as well as just in the workplace as a worker. Then, as I mentioned, for self-development, it started with education, but you can also build out a self-development plan if you want to work out for the next few months, few years, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Very good. A mind map is fantastic to do that, because you can then capture that plan almost as you're thinking. And if you're working with somebody, with a coach or somebody like that, and they use mind maps, they can use a mind map to plan out your future and map it for you, and you can see your plan evolving as it's been captured. It's also great for setting goals. If you want to have more specific goals, which are shorter term or longer term goals, a mind map is a great way to actually see those goals all on one page, so you can always prioritize and know where you are. If you want to grow your expertise, once again, a mind map is a great way to grow your expertise, and whether it be knowledge or skills or any other abilities, mind maps are great to actually document the actual that journey of yours and what you need to know, and help you memorize it, help you apply it, can track it. It's fantastic to do that. So as you can see, mind maps can be used in so many places at work. And you can see I'm very excited and very passionate about this. That's one of the reasons why I thought I'll record this video, just to tell more people about how they could actually use mind maps at work and maybe motivate them to get started and try it. So if you're watching this, please don't just watch it for entertainment purposes. I'm not the most entertaining person in the world, but get out there, get some mind mapping software and start mind mapping, and just do it. And if you have any questions, you can just always contact me or email me or post some comments in one of my videos, and you'll get a response. But go out there and do it. Okay, so now that I've told you how great mind maps are and all the positives about it, there's a problem. And I want to talk a bit about this problem so that we can get enough people to work together actually to solve this problem. And the problem is that despite being such a great tool, its popularity is not as great as I would like it to be. There's still many people who don't know mind maps, and I'm always amazed when I come to a new organization or meet a new group of people and I talk about mind maps, and they either don't know what it is, or they have a completely different perception of what mind maps are in their minds. So it's not yet mainstream. Many schools don't yet teach it, while many do. It's not popular in the workplace as much as I would like it to be, and I think this is a little bit of an effort to start changing that. and there are actual people who actually dislike it. I remember I was on a project that was stalled, and I was called in to actually sort out that problem. So what I did was I made a mind map of the situation, and I had to present to the CEO. This is the CEO of a $1 billion fashion business here in South Africa. And the first thing he told me, he said, I don't like mind maps. I can't use mind maps. So I said, it doesn't matter. I said, you don't have to like it or even be able to use it. I'm going to present this to you in a very easy way so that even you can understand, not tongue in cheek. And he laughed and he actually let me go through, and I presented the mind map in my unique way. As you can see, I use mind maps in a, I don't publish a whole mind map and blast it on the screen. I take you through it one branch at a time if I'm presenting using a mind map like I'm doing now. So there's many people who dislike it and many people who actually criticize it. And funny, a lot of the people who criticize it come from the academic world. That, oh, it's not true, there's no right brain, left brain things. They talk about that. Oh, it doesn't work, it's confusing, and etc. So we're up against that. And the reality is that I don't think there's any system that is perfect. There's no one system that's going to rule them all, that's going to rule the world. I'd like to see a great adoption of mind maps. And if I do my little bit to get more people using mind maps, I would have done my job. Is the whole world going to use it? I don't know, probably not. Tony Buzan, who had a great vision and eventually had a multi-million-dollar company behind him, wasn't able to do that. So I don't know whether I can do that, but I know I can help a few people like you watching this. If you go away and do a few mind maps and start trying it out, I would have done my job. Okay, so that's the first thing, that is not as popular as I would like it to be. Secondly, people say that they can't create mind maps and they can't read the mind maps. And that's something that I want to actually change in many ways, because by the expert mind mappers creating this guru status, so that they, which puts them on a pedestal and says, look, they are the best mind mappers in the world, and you have to do it this way, otherwise your mind maps aren't good, otherwise your mind maps suck. That's kind of an approach many of the mind mappers take, and that's part of the reason why it hasn't really taken off. So I say, don't worry about it. Just open up your software, put a topic in the center, and then start capturing your ideas, and explore it rather. Learn as you go along, and then rearrange your branches, rearrange your thoughts as you go along. Don't worry about whether you're using keywords or whether you're using sentences or not enough images. Don't worry about that. Just go and do it. And by doing it, you will learn over time. Now, that's the first thing about people can't create it. Then people can't read a mind map. So I've been promoting a certain way of doing a mind map, and I'll just minimize these branches over here to show you. First of all, one of the things I often do is I actually number the branches. So it's a visual cue to people to know which order they must read it, because often people see a mind map and they don't know where to start, and it's all over the show. So if I'm going to present something, it's kind of in a linear way, but I don't have to stick to that order if I don't have to. Sometimes I don't do branches, but generally a completed mind map of mine will read like a clock, where it starts at number 1 over here and goes clockwise around. And that's generally how I do my mind maps. And I think if more of us, and that's pretty much become the standard, and if more and more people do it that way, everybody will be able to easily read a mind map, because it will go in a logical sequence when they're reading other people's mind maps. Even doing it for yourself, it's fine. But if you're presenting a mind map to somebody, then give it into a logical sequence, that they can actually understand and actually follow. Okay, so that solves the problem of being able to read it. Okay, so now the other problem is that the adoption has been very slow and has been rejected by many people. So I want to change maybe the world one person at a time, one mind mapper at a time. So I'm going to give you a process of which I take people through so that they can start using mind maps at work. And so in that way, mind maps can spread and more people can do that. And the solution that I'm proposing for you, are you ready to hear the solution? I hope you are. It comes from Stephen R. Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he said, personal victories come before public victories. If you want to use mind maps at work and get other people to use mind maps at work, you must first demonstrate how well it works in your own work, in yourself. And by doing that, you'll then be able to actually change other people and then change the world. And there's a 3-step process that I've put together. As I mentioned, the first thing you do is for your personal work. So what you do is you start mind mapping your notes, your own personal notes. Whenever you need to note, open up a mind map. Even if you have to use pen and paper, so be it. And don't worry if your mind map is not structured correctly on that paper. Open up a second page and continue the mind map. Then later on, you could always get back to your computer or your tablet or whatever you use, and then capture that and rearrange the branches. And that's where the advantage of software comes in. If you're able to take your notes using your laptop or your tablet, then you can actually just capture your notes on your mind map without worrying about structure and rearrange the actual notes afterwards. Because often a meeting doesn't necessarily go linearly. So you don't have to then capture your normal linear notes. You get stuck because you don't know where to put it, because it actually refers to something further up the page and then there's no space to do it. With a mind map, you've got that freedom to do it. To do that. And if you need to take notes in any other any other time from documents that you're reading or any articles that you read, you can use that for your own notes. So you start using mind maps for your own notes. Then start using mind maps to do your own planning. If you're going to plan a new project, if you're going to need to plan an event, if you're going to plan a meeting, anything, start using mind maps to do that, and take a few minutes, do a mind map and do your planning with mind maps. Remember, I said this is all with your personal work. Nobody else has to see it. So don't worry about it. It's a safe environment because only you can see it. It's for you only. And that's how we get started, by getting those little personal victories one step at a time. Then you can use mind maps for your own thinking, your own writing, etc. But the principle of step number 1 is that you use it in your personal work first and foremost. Nobody else has to see them. So that's for all the work that you have to do, personal work. Then I thought about this for a while. How do I make this transition? So I've actually created a bridge step. And the bridge step is where you actually make a bridge between your private work and your public work. The best way to explain this is by example. Let me show you a few examples over here. For example, if you're going to give a speech, do the outline of your speech on a mind map first, and then you could always put that into a PowerPoint presentation if you want to, or you can even write that into normal notes or cards or cue cards if you use that. It doesn't matter, but you start off with outlining your speech. That's a bridge between your private thoughts and taking it to the public. They don't have to see your mind map yet, so it's still safe, but at least you're beginning to prepare taking your thoughts to the world using a mind map. For example, if you have to plan an agenda for a meeting, same thing. Your mind map, who must be there, or what rooms, what's the venue, where's it going to be, what you have, any catering. You can plan a whole meeting with that, or using a mind map. You can coordinate a whole event with a mind map. And obviously, as I mentioned, you could actually use it for your actual speech notes. Initially, I said you can outline your speech, but you can then also do your speech notes on a mind map like I've got over here. And you could have that on one page, even perhaps, if you can get it nice and condensed. And then you can still present in a PowerPoint slide if you wanted to. So there's many options. So this second stage, you're still not taking your mind maps to the world. Now, this could take you weeks, months, even years. It doesn't matter. You don't really have to take it to the world. But what often happens is when I'm sitting at, I remember I was at a conference once, and somebody was speaking, and I had my iPad over there, and I was mind mapping on my iPad. And this person sat next to me. "Oh, what's it you're doing?" she asked me. And I said, "Well, this is a mind map." "Oh, what's a mind map? Explain quickly." So I said, "Okay, watch how I'm doing, and watch what I'm doing." And as they were actually speaking, as the presenter was speaking, I was taking these notes, and it was really amazing. I don't know whether that person actually ended up doing mind maps. I should have actually taken her details and asked, but that's how you can do it. You can quickly demonstrate it. Spread the word of mind maps at work by actually doing it. Okay, so that's some of the examples of you using as a bridge between your private work and your public work. And then finally, taking mind maps public. This is a big, bold step that you can take. You can use it in presentations like I'm doing now. You can actually present using a mind map. Sometimes I actually just have a mind map with some images, just like we do in a PowerPoint slide, and only have a few, 2 or 3 branches Don't go many levels down, and then you can present almost very similar to a PowerPoint presentation doing that, but you can use it in presentations. The great thing about using it for the presentation is that you only need the framework, you need the keywords. I'm talking over here quite freely. I don't have a scripted speech for this video. I sat down, tried to figure out what I'd like to tell you guys, and then I actually mind mapped it and rearranged the mind map a number of times, and then I just came over here, opened up my screen, put on the screen recording software and started speaking. And over time it gets actually better. You can use it for brainstorming sessions where you're the mind mapper. What I often do in a brainstorming session is I take my computer, my laptop, and if there's a projector, I actually project the software onto a big screen. And then as people are talking, I would actually capture the actual ideas as they come on the mind map, and then we'll actually rearrange it right there, or maybe I go away afterwards and rearrange it again and feed it back. But it's a great way to actually brainstorm ideas. It works the same with facilitation. If you're facilitating a workshop, I've often been called in to actually facilitate a workshop using mind maps, because the last company that I worked, I actually gave a number of presentations to many people in the organization to actually use mind maps. So I've been called in a number of times to actually facilitate a meeting or actually take workshop notes. If they want a scribe for the workshop, a mind map is a great way to actually take notes while the workshop is going, and you can even get a job as a visual note taker for workshops. Then you can actually start planning your projects with mind maps, especially the early stages of a mind map, the early stages of a project where you're actually still thinking about what the project is going to be, who it's for, what it's going to be, why it must be done, when it must be done, what resources you need, what team size you need, etc. You can use a mind map. Is fantastic for that. I've used it also in system design, where I actually design systems. Recently, when I've been going online and I started my online business, all the systems that I've mapped out for marketing and sales and my courses and all have been mind maps. So I've designed those systems and then able to build those systems all with mind maps. And finally, if you need to document processes for other people, you can even do the process in a mind map. If it's a step-by-step process that I have to follow, you may want to do it in a mind map. The great thing about documenting a process in a mind map is that a process is not often linear, but often people document a process as if it was linear. And so people get lost. With a mind map, they can see the big picture and then drill into the branches that they need to, when they need to. So it's a great way to document processes over time, especially if people got used to working with you and you've been using mind maps a lot of time. They'll understand your mind maps and be able to read it easily. And if you number it and use certain visual cues, you'll be able to direct people in a mind map that actually makes sense and that they can actually follow. So these are the number of ways that I think that what I've put together so that you can actually use mind maps at work and actually take mind maps forward in the world and also make you more effective. So that's a high-level overview of actually how to use mind maps at work. I'm going to give you some next steps over here so you can go away and actually try some things and see how it works. If you're a new mind mapper, I recommend that first of all you get some software. And don't worry about what software it is. I don't have a preference for any software because a software, unfortunately, is one of those things that it's a bit of a deal breaker, as people say, because the software formats don't work nicely together, and it's very difficult to import from one software to another, and people have different preferences. But it doesn't matter. Start in your private capacity and get whatever software you want to, and get some of the free versions. And try it, get some of the free software and get some of the free trials of the others and just try it, and actually just do it. Then you start actually using mind maps in your private capacity. And I don't want you to have any fear. Just go and do it. Nobody is going to see it, only you. Those personal victories are very important because personal victories come before public victories. So you use it for your personal use only, and don't worry about the mind mapping laws. I'm saying ignore it, or if you don't want to ignore it, apply it loosely. You can always rearrange it afterwards and fix your mind maps afterwards, and you rather learn the laws by experimentation. just capture it down. The advantages of capturing something into in a mind map, especially when you're using software, it has already got so many advantages that even if it doesn't meet the mind mapping laws, you will still get huge benefits, more than not doing it. So I know that many of the top mind mappers and the people who are teaching mind mapping and mind mapping courses and the laws may not like what I'm saying, but I'm saying it's better to get started and try and adapt. And then you adapt it as you go along, and then you can always get deeper and deeper understanding of a mind map as you go on in life. Okay, so that's what you need to start with. Then you start off in your private capacity, and as I said, you start with note-taking. A nice way to start doing is to document external sources using a mind map. You can document summaries of books, of articles, of courses, and that's once again for your own use. So a nice way to do it, if you read an article, for example, and you make a mind map summary of the article, put the article away and look at your mind map. Say, can I read the mind map and get the gist of actually what the article said? If it's not, go back to the article and fill in the blanks. And in that way, you quickly learn to actually summarize articles in a way that makes sense for you, so that if you pick up the mind map a week or two later, you'll know what's actually happening. I've often seen people learn the keyword rule of Tony Buzan, which says only one keyword per branch, and they have a nice mind map with keywords. They think they understand it, but when they pick up that mind map a week later, they don't understand what was on the mind map. They can't read the mind map because the keywords made sense at the time, but creating strong link keywords within context needs a very high level of development, mind mapping development. So don't worry about if you have to use a few more words or even sentences, but just create summaries and then visit your summary maybe a week later and see, does it still make sense? And if not, fill in the blanks, and in that way you'll find you'll get better and better at using mind maps. As I said, you can use it for books, articles, and even courses. So start with note-taking, and then maybe note-taking in meetings. Before you go to the meeting, you can maybe have a quick mind map of the agenda. Then you can also hold people to the agenda and say, okay, that wasn't on the agenda. And then you have a framework actually to which to fill in when you're actually taking notes in the meeting, during the meeting. And if it, even if you were using pen and paper, you could always come after the meeting and then go and just fix the mind map and actually rearrange it, or capture it on software and then rearrange it, and then you can actually create your notes from that and minutes if you want, and even send the minutes out. So it's a great way to use that in your private capacity in meetings as well. Okay, then so that's on the note-taking side. Then you can also use mind maps to start what I call note making. If you want to document any of your original thoughts, you have an idea, try to mind map it first and see what happens. If you want to write an article, mind map the framework or the outline of that article using a mind map. If you need to write reports at work as part of your job, maybe write the framework of the various headings and topics of that report, and then fill in the skeleton, and then use the actual mind map, reference the mind when you're actually doing the actual report. And you can also do it, as I said, for presentation outlines, where you can actually work through how the presentation is going to work, how it's going to flow, etc., and then use that outline to actually create your presentation. So that's where I suggest you start if you're a new mind mapper. If you're a seasoned mind mapper and you've been using mind maps for a while, here's a bit of a challenge for you as well. I challenge you to go public with your mind maps. Start using mind maps in presentations. Use it to facilitate meetings, facilitate workshops, use it for brainstorming, use it for collaboration with other people. Especially, I'm recording this in the middle of a pandemic. We're still in lockdown here in Cape Town, South Africa, and collaborating using a mind map is a great way to do things. You open up a mind map, whether you're in Zoom or Skype or whatever, you share the mind map on your desktop, and as people are talking, you can collaborate and you can actually capture the notes on that mind map, and therefore you can work collaboratively on the mind map. It's a fantastic tool because it's fast and you don't have to worry about capturing too many, taking your notes taking too long, and everybody can have a visual picture of where you are, and everybody's so literally on the same page, on the same mind map. And then try teaching of your people. If you're older and you maybe got some kids, or you know some friends or family that have kids, so telling them about it, showing them, maybe explaining people, even at work. So try to show a few people how mind maps work and teach them one at a time. And in that way, we can start spreading the word and start getting mind maps to be used in more places. Okay, so that's it. That's what I've got for you. I've got some next tips over here. Is that once you've actually done all this, now we can actually take mind maps to the next level. We can start using for things like project management, writing a book, working out your personal development plan. If you're a coach, you can use that to work out a personal development plan with others and give them the mind map as a personal development plan. If you're starting a business, you may want to do a business plan. Take all the headings of a business plan and put it as mind map branches and then work like that. Or if you want to use a new way of doing business, which is building a business model instead of a plan, you can mind map a business model. And I've actually got examples of that, and I'll probably do a few of that in the future. So that's it. That's the next steps that you can use with your mind maps. So hopefully this video has given you a good overview of how you can use mind maps at work. If you haven't been using it, it's given you some examples and how you can take mind maps forward so that we can make a difference at work and in the world, because mind maps will make a big difference in your life if you start using them and you start showing others. If we don't do this, we'll still be stuck where we are right now using this old same linear boring methods. So that's it. Go ahead, try mind maps at work, and I'd like to see how you go. And I'll speak to you next time.